the 1 foot is like usually fine, and the other one is like Brooke up, like Dunno. So.
Pick up your mic.
So. Oh.
Is it on? 1, 2.
Wait.
You could do that later. Is it? I can't hear myself. God damn
No,
it.
get the perfect roll.
Hello. Wait, is it just? Is it that? Hello. Oh. That.
I'm here.
Okay.
Are you recording?
Huh?
Are you recording?
I pressed record, but I don't know. Maybe you didn't.
I just got a drum roll.
It's not drum.
You get anything's a drum. Everything's a drum. My thighs are drum too. About what?
Y'all can continue to feed shit. I just needed
Feet.
y'all to keep to say it into the mic
Feet.
because y'all niggas is
yeah.
talking about your feet
Where
and
we?
how they don't
Yeah,
work
they didn't taste that good last
and how
time.
they,
Try.
and how they're shitty. Why are they shitty?
They just don't turn out well in feet pics.
Feet pics.
Yeah. What?
Have you tried like putting peanut butter?
Ketchup, not peanut butter. Yeah, like peanut butter is the consistency is a bit too thick. Yeah.
That's what I prefer thicker tasting feet. I think the ketchup's a bit too acidic.
Oh, what the fuck going on,
Yo,
man?
please.
Y'all niggas was talking
Too
about.
acidic.
Yeah, ketchup, tomatoes, acid.
Yo,
Is it? Oh, science.
she's a sperm donor baby.
Yeah.
What? How does that? What?
Like my dad came in a cup.
Oh, that's crazy.
Got money for it.
Right?
Crazy.
Got money for it. And then that's
When'd you
Yeah.
find out?
when I found out I didn't have a dad. And I was like, hey, where's my dad? And she was like,
What age was that?
oh, what age did I find out? I don't know. I must have been young. Like she was pretty upfront about it. She was
Okay.
just like, I was old. I wasn't with anyone. Did want a kid. She was like late 30s. So she just went and then had me scientifically.
Wow, that's a crazy incarnation.
Right?
It's wild.
Wow.
Like that's why. So when I say like Ukrainian, a lot of people are like, where?
Yeah, she's Ukrainian.
Where did a
Mm.
Jamaican meet a Ukrainian? And I'm like, they didn't. They didn't. Like I think the wildest part is that there's 12 other offspring, so like sperm donor kids, and then 2 of my dad's
Oh,
own.
they let you know?
They tell you like on the sperm
Oh.
donor report, they'll tell you how many
Because that's what I was
children
going
have
to
been.
ask.
There's 14 of me. Like that's an army.
You have 14, like,
Massive.
what would you call them?
Siblings?
Yeah,
Like
half
siblings.
siblings.
Whoa.
Half siblings.
And they all like I saw my half brother, and they all look like me, which would be like my dad's genes because I don't look like my mom at all. So like this guy's genes were busting.
That's crazy.
No,
Dude, that's a great way to like make income.
oh my gosh. Yeah, he checked off on the paper. They ask you, why are you doing this? And he said to help people and for financial gain. He was honest. He's an honest man.
Is it good monies?
I heard it is. I heard eggs get more. Could be wrong.
Of course.
But I mean, it seems pretty easy. Honestly, if I was a guy,
Just not in the cup, bro.
like,
I mean, how much
does he
money
like
has gone down the drain?
right?
does he so he gets the option to choose if he wants to reconnect with any of the 12 at any time.
Like they ask you on the paper, they're like, in the future, would you be open to meeting them? And he put yes. You can have the option put no. But he said he was. Who knows where he is? I'm gonna figure that out. I'm gonna figure that out.
Did he live here or like where? This is so crazy. to
I
me.
think he's maybe back in Ukraine because some of his other kids are back there, but majority of them are all like Toronto kids.
Would you
It's
ever
like,
want to go visit there?
Ukraine?
Yeah, I don't know what
Ukraine.
I don't know what it's like. I don't know. I don't know what it's like as a place.
I don't really know if I would go visit Ukraine. Their alt-right movement is growing like massively right now.
Oh,
so
where?
like I would go in there and be like, oh, I'm one of you. And no, it would not go well. Yeah.
That's so
Weird.
crazy.
It's real
That's so
weird.
crazy. Oh
It's
man.
real weird.
Like what was your reaction to it when you found out? Like was it like fine? Because I don't know how
Yeah.
like kids
Yeah.
feel about that shit.
No, yeah, I think a small part of me was like, oh, like it would have been cool to like have like more family.
Yeah.
Obviously, instead of just having like one side of my family.
Yeah.
But I also like I wasn't missing anything because I never had it. So I wasn't like missing a dad or like
Yeah.
missing. I
Right.
just
Makes
never had it.
sense.
So
There's
I-
never that polarity.
Exactly. I was like, she's just letting me know about what already is. And I was just like, cool. Kept it moving.
Do you have
Yeah.
any like siblings like that you live with or like?
No.
No? You're
Only
only
child.
child?
Yeah, only child. So when I reconnected with like my half brother, I was so over the moon. I was like so happy. Yeah.
What was that like?
It was so sick. And also like he's just like a year younger than me. Pisces as well. Played rugby as well. Same music taste. We both smoke up. I was just like, it was like just me in another body. And I was like, holy fuck, you're so cool. I wonder why. But anyways, no, it was really cool. And I would like to meet him one day for sure.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really dope.
So you said
Yeah.
you've never been what about Jamaica? Would you ever go like visit there?
Oh yeah. That's like first up on the bucket list. I haven't traveled yet, but that's gonna be my first place.
She's
down.
never left Canada.
Never left Canada. I wonder what's out there. I feel like traveling is so for me, but I wouldn't know. What's out there? I don't know.
I've never heard anyone
don't
say
know.
like I traveled X, Y, Z place and I don't like traveling. I've never heard someone go I don't like
Yeah, me
traveling.
neither.
Like how
No.
that's a very strange opinion to have about something because it's like
yeah.
you're going in specifically if it's somewhere where the culture is different. Like you're going in a completely different
There's
like
just so much
world.
novelty.
Yeah,
So much to learn.
like I can imagine like you like going from Nepal to here and then being here for a while and then going back to Nepal and like just seeing the difference. Like
It was funny because coming here, my parents didn't tell me that we were moving. They were just like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go pick up your sister all the way over the ocean." And then
Damn.
I was too young to like question it, so I was like, "Oh, sick. We're just posted here now."
They're never direct. It's so funny.
Never. My mom did the same thing when I moved to Ottawa. Yo, we're going on a holiday, whatever. Just never
man.
went back. Yeah.
Never ever
Like,
ever
damn,
direct.
just be on. Like, I'll be fine with it. Just, can I pack my stuff? Like,
Yeah.
let me get a suitcase. No.
Yo, what do you think of the? Because I know you have strong opinions. What do you think of this current lockdown? Because last time we recorded last week, it wasn't in effect yet, right?
No,
It came into effect like last Saturday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This Saturday.
This one is
Yeah.
the least sensical one.
dude.
I was
like,
saying earlier.
I saw it like 4 days before they actually locked down. The blonde lady that's in the like the press conferences. She's like, yeah, like we know lockdowns do more harm than good, and then 4
Oh,
days
shit, say
later,
words.
fucking Ford's like, yeah, everything's shut down, or I don't know what the regulations are, but no, like it hasn't made sense.
It's not
since
everything.
May.
I still work.
Yeah, the malls are open. I don't know about small
I'm
businesses.
at Value Village and we're open.
Yeah, clothing
That's
stores.
like not
the
essential
mall.
Yeah,
at
Yeah.
all. And then salons and like hair care places, like beauty,
Closed.
whatever, they're all closed.
oh, they're
even though-
closed.
Yeah.
They're
They're
not even
all-
like half capacity.
They're closed,
Fam.
and no cases have been attributed to. There's been no outbreak in. So they're obviously now they're pissed. They're like, dude,
Yeah.
we're doing everything
Especially
right.
the smaller business ones, like
Because they're the only ones that
They're
are
not.
actually affected, right? And I've been on Instagram. I'm on Instagram too much, so I like get it for the day and then I delete it once I use
Yeah.
it.
It's funny.
So I seen like there's a business in Ottawa that it was a gym and they opened up like no mask, no like social distancing and everything. And this guy from I think Barrie, like somewhere in Ontario, drove all the way here just to check it out, buys a membership just to support, which is so awesome. It's like, wow, like these people are really just like coming together and finding a way to support each other, which is sick. Because like without the limitations of like these freedoms being taken away, we wouldn't really know what freedom is, right? So in that sense, it's kind of a good thing. But I mean, in terms of the lockdown, like I've been following this for the whole year, and I mean, I really started only picking up like September on my research,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't make sense. Like we knew in May that most of the infections are happening in long-term care. Most of the deaths are comorbidities. Like it is not young. Like we are not at risk. Very small chances. No, like barely any kids have died. Like there's no reason to be doing any of this.
Yeah.
In fact, I know in Germany and I know in Canada, I've heard that there's lawyers actually suing their governments because this is nonsense.
Yeah, I think people have gotten to a point where they're. I think we said the last time, where people are like, I'm seeing more and more people actually question it. Because I remember last year, or like for the first few months, like it was very like no questions asked.
Yeah.
Follow like don't ask any questions. And anyone who asked questions got called like you don't care about people's health or blah 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 blah. I don't feel safe. But now I see like a lot of people, like when I go online, a lot more people are like criticizing. I'm seeing Dougie's getting a lot of criticism right now.
Yeah.
Like he's not really looking good. You know what I'm saying? He don't know what he's doing.
Only thing
like
that does
gyms
kind
are
of terrify
closed.
me is that like the conversation of vaccines hasn't really changed that much.
Mm.
Even though it's like this is experimental, 100%. Like we do not know the long-term side effects, not even the short-term side effects. It's been like 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you think of that? Because
Vaccines?
from what I've heard from vaccines, it takes a very long time to actually like come up with one and like approve it and test it. Like I've heard,
I don't think
it could be up to 10 years.
approved by the FDA either. This one.
Oh, say word.
Yeah, no. I mean, it depends on really the research that you look at, because some research will tell you that there's been COVID forever and they've been working on something for a COVID variant, whatever. And now it's just further developed. At the end of the day, I'm never going to trust vaccines. Being a Black person, I've very much like experienced, like, do this. This is great. And then 5 years down the line, you're exposed, not disposable. You're disposable. So there's not really a care about what it actually does to you. At the end of the day, I'm like, just get me out of here. Like whatever I need to do, like, okay, shoot me in the arm, like whatever. Like I'll deal with that when it comes, because I also tend to like turn away from like skepticism just because of like
understandable.
I take it too far type of in a way. Like I'm like, if I'm a little bit skeptical, I'm like completely like not compliant. But I think skepticism is important because you can't control a society that's more skeptical of their government. Mm-hmm. And it's been a long time coming, you know? Like it took COVID for us to actually beg certain questions of like, what's your authority? Yeah. And then when people with more authority on a certain topic tell you that this is not working, what gives you then the authority to be like, but I know. But it's literally just like, do this, I'll explain later. Yeah. And it's like, no, because that's going into my body now. Like,
and it's the first mRNA vaccine ever.
Yeah.
Dude, that's just gonna change your fucking
I
cellular level.
don't know how I feel about the whole you said DNA, nigga?
mRNA, it's an mRNA modification. It's not even a vaccine by definition.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about no genetic modifications.
Well, there's a million theories too. Like one of the concerns about the COVID-19 vaccine is that transhumanism will potentially turn you into something that is not what you are biologically already. So,
and the thing is, like this is all speculation until it happens, possibly. Mm-hmm. So just to like dismiss it is like Like, let's talk about it. I'm not going to dismiss it entirely, but like, just know it's a possibility because, I mean, how many times has Alex Jones been right? Like, this guy predicted this shit. Like, he was talking to people about this 2 years ago. Yeah. Which is terrifying. Like, how does he, how he knew about this?
People like that have been skeptical about the government forever. And it's very much, that's one of my biggest problems is you talk about stuff like that and then you're slapped with schizophrenic or any type of skeptical thinking is, it suggests that your brain is not working in the correct way and you need some type of attention. And it's like, of course you would label people who question any governmental body as being mentally ill. I mean, that's what they did years ago too. And they just threw them in rehabilitation centers and then locked away the key. So it's
or they murder them and then say it was suicide. I watched a movie. Speaking on that, I watched a movie. for film class called Citizen 4. It's about this guy who worked at the NSA, and it was around the time when they were doing this mass surveillance project. And it was a secret mass surveillance project where they basically intercepted, they call it, everyone's calls, like internet searches, so basically everything was being tracked, and no one knew that it was happening except like the people with the authority in the NSA. So this guy called Edward Snowden, he was working for them and then saw that, and then basically was like, nah, this isn't cool. Linked up with some journalists like very secretly in Hong Kong, went through a bunch of fucking bullshit because they had to like keep things secret so it doesn't get like intercepted, and then basically called him out. And he was saying that when they find out who you are, the person behind the leak, what they'll do is they'll look into all of your information because they have it, and then they'll try to formulate some kind of thing to discredit the claim that you're making.
Bro,
Yes.
by any means necessary.
And like, who's in on that? Like Google? Probably Microsoft.
Well, all those
Definitely
places give
Apple.
permission to like send to share the information.
Yeah, I was
for the most
watching.
part.
I don't know if you watched it. I sent it to you, but it's called The Creepy Line, the documentary. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
No. So essentially, it's just about how Google and Facebook are monopolies, and they can literally control and like shift the collective consciousness, and even if like elections, which they did do, right? So this guy, I don't know, this guy was just like speaking up about it, and then the next day, like his account got deleted. His bank, he couldn't access his bank account, and like he has no power. Like doesn't have access to money. His name is like completely tarnished, and like that is immense power that they have. And where I am, it's like where we are. It's like, oh, that can't happen to us, right? It's like we're just no way. That's what happens to like conspiracy theorists. But no, it's like it can definitely happen to any of us, and I think the factor is like, are you actively pushing back? It's the same thing you said, right? It's like, why do you not trust the government? Why is it that the people that don't trust the government are always labeled or ad hominem to like dust, right?
Right. And what's funny with that too is that it was like my first automatic reaction to when people started to riot or kind of start to form a type of revolution. And states did not allow that at all. At all. They're going in with military trucks and SWAT, etc. My first concern was nobody here is concerned that you've lost your right to revolutionize or
protest,
right?
anything.
Because many philosophers will say the second that you've lost that right to rebel against a government that no longer serves you, which should be your right to overthrow a government that does not serve you anymore.
Yeah.
Once you've lost that right, you've lost all right. And I think it's very scary that we're just collectively like, okay, we see what's going on over there. Don't think it's right, but I'm just gonna continue doing my thing because I don't want to get
I just want out of this pandemic, essentially.
Right? So
there's a certain indifference, like a lack of critical thinking in a way.
And it's also like, dude, like I've been in this fucking rabbit hole, and it has taken its emotional toll on me. Like,
yeah, you have.
I've gotten into arguments on Instagram. Like, you've told me, dude, stop fucking doing this shit. It's like, it's because it gets to a point where it's just like not worth it.
Because you don't want to get sucked in like, no matter how pressing or whatever you think it may be, you do not want to get sucked into a point where like you can't be rational about it. And you don't want to get sucked into irrationality.
I think what is
that's
required is like a community, because it's like, you know, you cannot save the world by yourself, you know. But if you have a group of like-minded people that also are working towards the same goal, that's something that's very possible.
yes.
And I guess I'm kind of at fault for like trying to convince people, or like, hey, look at this, right? Because I mean, at this point, it's like, if you haven't really like inquired for yourself, what's gonna stop you from doing it now, right? It's like,
yeah,
some crazy shit, man. I just think if you get too lost into it, you're probably gonna end up, because what was happening is, like, you're trying to bring people into that way of thinking and to get them to start questioning. But if you're doing that from a place of anger and like, and like, how do you not see this? You or are you fool or blah 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 blah, like the very
that was in
aggressive
my
approach?
head, man. Like I was subconsciously just writing shit, and like in my head, I'm like, fuck, like it's so obvious.
You get so frustrated.
Yeah.
You're like, you feel like a few certain points should have been enough already, and then I think it all boils down to like if they don't want to see, like they won't. 110%. Because I always took the same route. I would get very angered explaining like basic human rights to people, and I'm like, you know what? When you genuinely care, you know where to find me. You know where to find this information. I'm wasting my breath. I'm wasting my energy. You're not interested. I'm not gonna, right? Or I've just resorted to like, you can just, if you're that concerned, just Google it.
Yeah.
What was your route into all of this? Like, just like sharing
in activism specifically, or just like, because my whole main thing is just activism with like basic human rights. But and then COVID kind of complicated all that big time. But I started off with the root of like, I would say something that really isn't controversial. I remember it was the time of like Eric Garner and Trayvon and Tamir Rice, and like that's when I was really just like, I was in middle school and I was just like,
it's
guys,
just been going
like,
on for so long.
I was in middle school and I was like,
man.
I was in, like, I had social media, so that's all I would use every time and that was before it was like trendy to be woke or like whatever. And I would just get DM, terrible shit time after time after time of like, what are you talking about? Oh my, so much racist stuff, so much. Because all that was controversial, but like you could debate Trayvon's lives and Tamir's life, and you could debate all those lives and you know, right? So people always did that. And then I eventually I kept it on with my social media. Nobody else was kind of talking about it. Got to high school, screw social media. That's so stressful. Started just doing the work in person. And with COVID, that's turned me even more from doing anything with social media because I feel like now everybody can just reshare an infographic. I don't have to go. You know, I was doing that before because I was like, nobody else is doing it. So who else is going to see this? Now people are. So I'm like, let me just focus on my work in the community.
That's a good question. What do you like? How do you? Like, what do you think about the way that that's evolved? Like the way we go about, like activism specifically. Like, I think the word, even the word itself, has evolved because I can't even say that without cringing a little bit, because it gets done so much in such a like very minimal, superficial minimal way that I'm wondering because activism's what has allowed things to a lot of revolutions and like advancements in society to happen. And from what I've heard on activist stories, it's not supposed to be a very pleasant or easy thing, and it's not necessarily supposed to last, or you're not supposed to necessarily get the results during your lifetime.
Exactly.
So it's interesting to see how a lot of people who kind of label themselves as activists, or just like the way people are approaching it these days, is really on a basis of activism is just spreading awareness.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it seems like it's gotten to.
Exactly.
Where that's where it stops.
It's redundant too.
Yeah.
It's redundant because if you even look at history in terms of media, what we've been exposed to, the increase from the 70s to now of the amount of shit that we're exposed to on a daily basis just leads to information overload. Yeah. So when when you see 50 million things in one day, the capability of you clicking that thing, reading it, and then retaining that information is slim to none. Whereas if you see that maybe, you know, on a much less scale, you're more likely to be like, oh, what is this? And inquire. It's infographic. Damn, is anybody off the phone? Is anybody at the protest right now? Because they asked for bodies and y'all are not there. They say actually pull up to this intersection. We need bodies where it actually matters against cops and stuff like that. Yeah. And nobody's there. I understand with COVID, social media activism has taken off, but it's also led people to not be able to differentiate what's performative and what's not. Yeah. So
because everyone knows what's going on. Like everyone knows the good or like the bad things going on in society, but
the terrible.
But that's it.
It's regurgitation of the same points, the same basic human rights points. We're not talking about things like abolition or prison abolition, or we're not talking about what actually needs to happen in order for a revolution to occur, because I'm telling people with no revolution, you're not going to see...
What do you think it takes?
I think people need a genuine leader. I don't think there's any genuine lead in that sense. I don't find that there's that's hard though. That's hard to get into because people will monopolize also activism for their own personal gain. There's a lot of people.
Have you seen Sorry to Bother You?
No.
Movie? Oh my
Have to
god.
watch
You should watch it if you like from that point you just said you should watch that.
There are certain activists too who like were, let's say they were dealing with I forget her name, but let's say Mike Brown's case. The parents of the person who was lost, their life was lost, the parents or the family will say, number one, we've seen no money that you guys have raised. We've seen no money. We've asked you, we've listed all these demands, but you're out here protesting at protests. We didn't ask you to organize. We didn't ask for any of that. So, and nobody, I've watched people, nobody, the activists will not respond to any of those inquiries. And these are grassroots lawyers, and, you know, the big names, Tamika Mallory, Sean King, Lee Mayer Esquire, all those people who I once looked up to, or you can very much see what's happening in that route. So I think it's really dangerous. I think everybody's on a different page. I think everybody is kind of scattered. There's no collective.
Scattering is a very good.
There's no collective organization. Even the Black Lives Matter protest in June was thrown together in 5 seconds. Nobody really understood what was going on, where we're starting, where was ending. That was just
for the pictures, bro. I'm not even gonna lie.
Right?
I ain't gonna lie to you.
No, really.
Black Lives Matter fashion
that
show.
One, bro, that's kind of what it was. It was like just like, let's see who can come up with the best little board thingy with the best quote.
Exactly. And the whole black squares thing, oh man, we sat there and we said to people, do not share a black square because you are drowning out important information and organization details, especially in the midst of all these protests that we cannot get together right now. Because I open my Instagram, it's very isolating. All I see is black square after black square. Nobody's even sharing valuable information. It's just a black square and a hashtag.
For the Asian thing, they started posting fucking yellow squares, nigga.
And everybody's like, this is not
It's just like they're deferring. It's like, look what I did.
It's the amelioration
it's like virtue signaling.
Exactly that. It's their own guilt. Let me absolve my own guilt in a way, and it's like, but you didn't even inquire from what that community actually needs.
It's like it's the conversation's so nuanced too, and I feel like people don't really see the nuance. And it's kind of like, oh, this is happening. I don't know where I'm going with this, but like,
there's a lack of information too.
Yeah, and
people don't know which information to actually listen to because sometimes the thing, as we've seen with the lockdown shit, you can use stats to push. You can pick stats to push whatever agenda you want, and to push
not to
whatever
mention, like,
thing
make it out of thin air. For example, the models that these lockdowns are based upon, 10x off.
So a lot of people get into the same cause, but they have different results that they want out of the talking about it or the like the activism that they're doing for it. So a lot of people so it's like there's many people trying to protest the same thing, but each and every single person has their own goals that they want out of it. And in turn, they kind of disagree on how to go about it. Because that's what I realized with that protest last year. Is like a lot of people, there was a lot of confusion around it in general of like what's going on, like who's organizing this, like what are we doing, what's the like how we're gonna walk
right now. What organization organized that protest? I could not tell you. I have like 3 names. Could be either one. Could be all of them. Don't know. Right? Like there's no. And exactly that, there's not enough information, and the information that is there's too much of it. There's too much of this.
Causes a desensitization too.
Exactly.
Where we don't really
the trauma
react.
Sharing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, it's very, very frustrating watching. And that's the thing, though, that's gotten us into trouble every single time. When social workers were a part of the whole 60s scoop and took indigenous children from their homes and gave them to white families and just threw them into foster care, they genuinely believed that they were doing the best thing in the world.
They always do.
They were solving the problem. And same societal notion right now, we are solving the problem. But how? Because the actual communities you haven't listened to, and on top of that, within the community too, we also have a complete divide on which route to take. We want to go peaceful. We want to go uprising.
That's one too.
Who's even black? Now there's the whole discussion of who can be a part of that. Like who now we're talking about Jim Crow law and stuff. Like it's just like all this. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, when are we gonna get there? Because there's all this like, you know.
So in this way, I guess the whole leader thing makes sense. But I feel like that's a very tough thing because
it's a nice concept.
Yeah, because everyone is at the same time they're desensitized or super skeptical too. And the fact that we know that we've seen so many times people use like good means for bad reasons, for bad ends. Like people will start some kind of revolution and you find out they're just like trying to find a way to commodify whatever they're trying to like revolutionize. And then so now if someone comes and they're genuine, like I feel like the ability for them to even catch fire will be difficult because people will question, like, people are desensitized to the idea of activism too. Like activists, everyone can be that because of social media.
Yes.
Because you could just repost like the infographics and then you can count as an activist.
Very glorified, yeah.
So a leader would have to be someone who can find all the different people involved in the thing who have their different goals and their different approaches, find a way to unify everyone. But that would be the most difficult thing ever because everyone has the means to say something. Like everyone has social media and everyone can say something. So in this way, it's like, how would you even go about it? Do you have to like build your following first? Like focus on getting your followers up? Like who do you speak to? Do you go strictly on Instagram? Do you go to fucking, does the news, can you use the news? Can you use like traditional television? How do you even go about actually doing practical things? Yeah. Because we found out a lot of those funds from last year were not as good as we thought they were. The like you donate to one and you find out next week they're actually owned by not the people you thought they were owned by. So you like, okay, what how do I even do anything?
Yeah. The Black Lives Matter Foundation. The actual foundation itself, which has probably gone out of this whole movement, this whole civil rights movement, has probably gotten the most amount of money out of any foundation.
Charities, a weird
Families
thing.
have not seen it. They have, once again, you can literally go on the website and look like an annual report of like what's happening with the money. That's just typing, and that's just because the actual families who don't have that same following, who don't have that same backing, same social media presence, nobody's really listening to them, even though it's their loved one whose lives were lost. They're like, yo, where's the money?
That's like, fuck.
They're asking the Black Lives Matter Foundation to release actual receipt or something.
It's the same thing happened for Haiti. Speaking of the earthquake, I think Haiti got 2%. People got 2% of the money they raised. I don't remember. There was a pie chart. I saw it from a video. I think it's under 10% of the money they raised, and they raised a lot of money because that shit was like all around the world. I think most of it went to Red Cross, like the company itself, like the nonprofit itself. Somewhat to the government.
You know, I see a parallel. Like, I guess we're all just drawing our own analogies or like where it's happening in the world. But for me, it's like COVID, right? It's like
happens.
Where
everywhere.
is all the money going right now? Vaccines,
right?
And we're not even using the AstraZeneca ones, I heard, because like it's not safe. They've confirmed it's not safe, and we bought a whole bunch from the States. And it's like, how much? Like, what if we had invested that money in May and actually used it to promote actual health? Because like you can get this vaccine and then they're going to give you a Krispy Kreme donut, and then what's next? Diabetes? Like one problem's gone, but what about the next?
It's not holistic.
No,
it's just addressing,
literally just a symptom.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh man.
And I think what's scary too with COVID is the fact is that when people are sick, when a society is sick, a government's going to make more money. Money is made off people staying sick. They don't actually want, when you remember that, you're like, damn, you don't even want me to be healthy. So like, what the fuck is going on? What's really going on here? Yeah. Because
the medication costs money, and whether or not you have insurance, I know in the States, like you're fucked. Yeah. Like if you need anything health, like your wallet's gonna pay. But here, like even though we have insurance, like insurance pays for it, so they generate income from you being sick,
and taking it's our money too. It's our fucking
pain medication. We said this for the first lockdown, the one we put out, the most recent one. How you get like medication A, but then medication A has side effects that you need medication B for. So now you have A and B, but then A and B interact in a way that gives you some kind of symptoms that medication C can fix.
Yeah.
And then you keep going into like,
and that's majority of elders.
Drawer, like,
majority of elders nowadays we know have like 6 different medications.
Bro, you
they
take
play
meds
off.
for 5 minutes.
Talk about artificial
Like-
health, right? It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
And like now that I'm in school, I mean, I've always been interested in this stuff before, but now that I'm like in school for holistic health, I've been actually researching a little bit of history and like people who have come up with cures for like cancer. Literally, like there has been multiple cures for cancer.
Yeah,
Why the
right?
fuck is there a cancer association? Why are people giving money? Like, to me, it's like, well, now that I know this, it's like, where is that money actually going?
And all the people that came up with this holistic, hey, listen, you can actually feed your body the right things to fight off the.
Yeah, literally.
Right?
What
You
the
notice
hell?
that pattern, eh?
They either
Very
kill 'em,
interesting.
They either kill them or they find a way to discredit them.
That
by
was the
calling
Nipsey
them-
Hussle theory. That Nipsey Hussle was going to finish this Dr. Sebi documentary.
Oh,
And
wow.
That was.
And that's when he died.
He
yeah.
vowed that he would finish. Now Nick Cannon said, "Okay, now I'm gonna finish that." And now everyone's like, "Well, hey,
'cause
prayers, Nick."
Sebi what was his thing? Like, didn't he? Isn't there theories that he also got like?
So the whole thing was that he was just shot outside of, I believe, his store.
He got
and
shot.
He was shot.
No, not Nipsey.
Oh, not Nipsey.
Sebi, like
Oh,
the doctor.
Yeah. What about?
Like how did
How
he
did he
die?
pass?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Actually, I genuinely, I
didn't
believe
he get
fell
fucked
ill.
over too?
He fell ill.
Fell ill or fell ill?
He fell, but
like-
the whole theories fell ill because Dr. Sebi's his theories on especially cancer related, those were the closest to being.
Didn't
I
he
guess,
have some
in a
shit about
sense,
AIDS too?
yes,
or HIV?
validified. Yeah, so those were the most progression was being seen with Dr. Sebi, and he was gaining traction more and more and more.
Yeah.
And more. So, and once you say, hey, I have a cure, I'm not a governmental body either, so I'm not going to make profit off of that cure. I'm just going to let you
Share it.
know
Yeah.
the amount of money that goes into cancer research, all that. If it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, they're not just going to
That's what I'm
produce
saying.
this cure and give it to.
Just logically speaking, like
Logically speaking.
you know, like knowing humans are so
And
obsessed with
another
power.
similar story to that is this guy named Dr. Royal Raymond Rife. So he essentially made this device. He essentially made this radionics device that essentially it creates a frequency. It resonates at a frequency the same as the disease. There's a whole list of like certain frequencies, right? So it's essentially like when a person sings and the glass shatters. The frequency makes the disease just disappear. And it was in the news, like they had a banquet like to celebrate and everything. Literally on the news. And then next day, all the people at the banquet are like, oh, we don't know this guy, blah, blah, blah. Like all his technology was
Shut him
like
down.
stolen, his papers burned, books burned, and like it's gone. There's nowhere to be seen.
Right? It's always that coincidental.
Yeah. Coincidence theory. I like to call it.
Right? It's always a coincidence. And that's what I'm learning more and more. I'm like, very little in this life is not.
One night.
Yeah, it's always very subtle.
Yeah.
That movie I mentioned, sorry to bother you. Like I'll kind of spoil it. You can't really spoil that movie.
Is it a documentary or?
No, it's Lakeith Stanfield is the main actor, the guy who plays
Didn't he commit suicide this year? Who's
Lakeith?
That's Chad.
No.
Chad, the Black Panther guy.
Oh no,
He didn't
guys.
commit suicide. He died of cancer.
Oh shit, dude! I'm sorry. I'm
Damn.
like, there's so much information. I just passed away.
Information overload.
But it's kind of like the story where how does he even work? It's like a call center, and then you basically the whole premise is like you can work your way up the corporate ladder, blah blah blah, and then they find out those people are not really doing good things, and then they try to start a revolution. But what happens is what the movie basically kind of talks about is just a commodification of revolution.
Yep.
And how that's one of the best and most subtle ways of actually dismantling
Yes.
a revolution, because you don't it's very subtle the way it happens and how they turn the person, let's say the person who's trying to start the revolution, how they just completely like disarm that person by just offering them power.
Yes.
Because
yes.
those people, the thing about the people in power is they understand how power works, understand it's an intrinsically human thing. Humans power is at the top for that's just how we work.
Unless there's like they're spiritually developed, then
then it's past that third chakra, it's to the fourth, and that's heart, and that's the third one is power, and that's where we get mostly stuck at. It's either the second or third. First is survival, second is reproduction, and third is power and mastery. And we usually get stuck at the third, and most people are like this. So the way that a lot, I can't name any real life examples, but this has probably happened so much throughout like history where someone will start to gain traction, and then somehow they either change their minds or the thing just loses traction so suddenly. And it's literally because a lot of the time, like we see this in music industry and film industry shit too, where it's like a lot of the time people's development gets stopped because of the whole thing of power of like, yo, like you can make more money if you do this, or like, don't you want to not have to worry? Like, yeah, you're starting a revolution, but where are you sleeping?
Yeah.
Like,
it's very, because we're in such an individualistic society. It's like
that
at the end of the day too, it's like, damn, like people get to that point and we have them try to survive under capitalism, and they're like, shit. It makes selling out a bit more plausible. You know what I mean? Like we see that all the time. And they do it to appease you as well. So like even with Kamala Harris being vice president, everyone was like, "Oh my God, Kamala, dude!"
That too,
and literally, they asked her about her locking up black men over weed and her smoking weed, and she just laughs. Like it was just like a laugh and then move on. And I was like, I tell people every single time, if somebody gets to a position of power, they are not a threat. They are not a threat. You're never going to let someone who's genuinely a threat get to a position of power, especially within the system.
Corrupts them.
Exactly. If you're in a system, that system will change you. You cannot make change within the system. I used to be that type of person. So yeah, I can, whatever.
So
and
strange.
Then I said, politics. First of all, I need to dismantle the system. I don't really care about changing an inherently flawed something that is working on the way that it was built to work. It wasn't made to work. You're not fixing it and making it revert back to the correct way. It's working how it's always been supposed to be working. Yeah. So you have to make that change outside of a system. Even Tamika Mallory, who then gained a huge amount of traction, is like an activist, whatever, her performing at the Grammys, right? That caused that conflict of like, but you know that the Grammys have been this power structure that have made their, you know exactly what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So it's that same commodifying the movement every single time. Best way to dismantle it. If you can't beat them, join them. But when you join them,
but that's capitalism though. It's like it's like the higher you go.
But it's corporate. It's like bad capitalism, because capitalism can work.
Yeah, it can. I mean, all of them in theory.
Yeah, in theory. Yeah, communism is great in theory.
Like all of them in theory work. It's just the thing about it is the power thing, because no matter what system we're using, we are human and we are driven to power. Like that's a human thing. Like we're animals at the end of the day, you know? Of course, like the spiritual, but I'd say in a realistic, like flesh way, like we are power driven beings. So like those like philosophical ideas of like capitalism and communism, they're written from a place of someone like literally just like critically thinking like, how could we best arrange a society and make it work, blah, 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 blah.
Purely intellectual.
But as soon as someone starts to find an opportunity to get some kind of power from it, and maybe it could be at the detriment of everyone else, a lot of the time there's something where it's subconsciously or whatever, the person ends up rationalizing it and gets corrupted by that power.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to
somewhere
say
wrong along the way.
I think it's hard to say too what's innately human because of the way we've been socialized. I think a lot of greed or innate greed has to do with the fact that we only existed within a capitalist society. At least for
I also don't think power is a bad thing.
I think any power, the desire to have power over other persons or like power over yourself 100%. I think that's absolutely fine.
I think those people just want a certain level of order. Mm-hmm. But it gets to a point where it's like, no, you got to do this or else you can't play.
That's how Christianity worked out. Fucking, it's like, we have this great thing, and then they travel and they see other people don't have this great thing, and they're like, what? You don't know about Jesus? And they're like, yo, you should learn about Jesus. And those people like, nah, I'm good. Like, I don't need, we have our own thing here.
So
like, what? We're like, what the fuck you
Like,
mean?
no. You're gonna learn about Jesus. You're gonna learn about Jesus. Yo, bring in the boat.
And the next thing you know, Easter, even if you're fucking Muslim, and you have a small business, you gotta close.
Yep.
Like, you have to follow that.
Oh man, this is like, I've just went into this like activism thing, right? Because I'm just like fucking frustrated with this, and this has been the perfect opportunity on so many levels to actually just like wake people up and like stand up for what is actually like just freedom, whatever that word might entail for a lot of people. For example, in terms of health, like what better opportunity to actually take charge of health and inform people and educate people about health than a global pandemic? That didn't happen. What about freedom, right? It's like the Chinese, the freaking concentration camps. Like Biden's acknowledged it, and he's still doing jack shit about it. And on so many levels, this is the perfect storm that we actually need as humanity.
And we fumbled the bag.
Not necessarily. I mean,
yeah, no, we didn't.
We still have the opportunity, but it's like, it's now, right? It's not tomorrow. It's now.
The mental shackle, like I've lost, like not lost all hope, but I'm like, I see the mental shackle on people. I'm like, damn, that shit's on. That shit's on straight,
that's so hard, bro.
It's got you, eh?
Beliefs are very interesting because you could it's easy to bubble yourself in your beliefs and like just never have to consider anything else for the rest of your life. Where I've been saying this so much, like your reality is shaped around your beliefs. So everything you see is interpreted with what you believe through, like it has to pass through that filter. So basically what you go on about doing in your daily life is just like finding ways to confirm those things, those beliefs for yourself. And then in turn, just keep that loop going. So like you find things externally that validate the internal, and then you keep doing that over and over again. And you never have to consider anything else, which is why the people say like poor people stay poor, and like how poor is a mentality for the most part. And that's why the whole idea, like that whole thing is in relation to like power and capitalism itself, and how high class stays high class and gets higher and low class goes lower, is because if you can instill, we can, I mean, it's not even an argument. Like you can instill poverty as a mentality into people and you will never have to maintain anything. There's no maintenance to be done. They'll just stay there themselves. They'll program their own children, even if they don't enjoy like being poor. Some way, somehow, the mentality itself is so programmed into them that as soon as they get a bit of money, they'll spend it right away, and then they'll be waiting for the next time they have money again. So the whole idea is like beliefs is what actually keeps shit. Like that's how you maintain. Like that's the bubble you stay in, and then you can never. How do you even get out of it? How do you even realize?
It's subconscious too, on a massive scale. It's subconscious, but with the little bit of awareness that we do have, it's like Paul Chek said this thing. He's like, any belief worth living is worth challenging. So I mean, if you don't, right? It's like
that's probably why trauma or like a very traumatic event is usually what knocks people out of it. When someone, usually it's like for Russell Brand, it was heroin addiction, where it's like, yo, like fuck, like he probably hit a rock bottom where it was like, fuck, like like I need a different system.
Dude, I listen to his content on YouTube and it's so good.
Yeah, he's very
amazing how diplomatic he is, and like
just noticing how he was growing up, like seeing him on TV and seeing how he's now is a completely different thing. And usually those people have some kind of like huge shocking event. Like it seems like that's the only way you can actually get someone to knock themselves out of like their bubble. Like it kind of have to just burst it like very dramatically.
It'll go like either way. Like either that person will be launched out of that bubble, or they'll just like connect to it a lot more. But what you said about people justifying their beliefs is like 110%. Like that's reality, right? Like I beg people all the time, like what even is reality? Like if we just have a different set of eyes, and like if you look at this and to you that's yellow, but it's black to me, right? Like that's like, so what is even reality? But I think too importantly about capitalism is it's definitely the installment of a mentality of like you are to be this way, but that elitism and that 1% and that wealth cannot exist without poverty. So there's never going to be an actual concern about ameliorating poverty or taking away poverty, because then that top 1% can't be there. So that whole argument of solve world hunger and solve houselessness, it's just talk. There's never going to be a concern.
There's a very small amount of people that can actually do it, and they're not going to do it.
And they're not going to do it because that means they would have to sacrifice their position in society to join you on that lower pedestal.
You mean I gotta give up my fucking cabin in the Bahamas to solve poverty?
Exactly.
No.
Well, that's why.
The crazy thing is, it's like it's not even 1%. It's 0.001%.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I think 1% is like if you make $100,000 a year, which is here. It's like good fucking luck.
It's 400.
Like that's like so like average.
Yeah.
In America, like.
But yeah.
So yeah, it's a thing of what is reality? What is reality? You know what I'm saying?
I was just listening to a podcast today, Paul Check, and he was just breaking down what life is or what God is, and he used I'm gonna butcher this, but essentially he used the word love. I don't know what the L represented, but the O represented. Fuck no, I'm gonna mess this up. But essentially, it's unconditional love, right?
Yes.
I forgot all of it.
And define unconditional. There's no condition, right? It is literally everything and nothing at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So when you make a condition, that's a limit. For example, my name's AAKRIST. Your name's Gio. Your name's Brooke. That is a limit right there. And without those limits, we wouldn't be able to share this interaction.
Yeah.
Right? What was I saying? Fuck.
The love analogy. And then, I think it is humans that we operate out of fear rather than love. I think you operate out of fear and out of love. And if you have people operating out of fear, they're so easy to manipulate. And
fear makes you vulnerable.
Exactly. Because you're willing to do anything at that point.
Yeah, to get that safety back. Because that's when you get back to that survival, like that fight or flight. And fight or flight, you're programmed to get to safety as soon as possible. So when you're in fear, that's usually what happens. And that's why anxiety is such a terrible thing, because you're always in that state where you're looking for safety, even if you're safe.
And there's this like absence of trust, of faith.
It's because you're trying to figure out where the fuck that anxious, like that anxiety is coming from, right?
Exactly. And
you just everything, and that's the thing about how that creates your reality in that state, because all you're looking for, and why it keeps being an echo chamber for that same reason, is because everything you're looking for at that point is things to like the cause
to justify
of like what is causing this. And then you probably end up finding it somehow. You end up making it up. Like your mind is gonna serve you, like depending on what you're asking it. So if you keep looking for reasons to be anxious or causes of anxiety, you keep finding them. Where going to fucking, I don't know, it's a grocery store is probably fucking the most terrifying thing of your life, because you keep finding ways things could go bad.
Right.
And like
you have certain expectations.
You're confirming it. And then what does that do? It reinforces it. And then you keep that cycle going until it becomes a habit. And when it becomes a habit, nigga, that becomes your personality. That becomes who you are.
Yeah.
And then it makes it harder for you to even be able to notice what's going on, and harder to snap out of it.
Yep. Because then you just resort to, I just am this way.
Yeah.
I just am this way. It just is this way. And like I used to do that all the time. Like I was such a pessimist. Because
you're like, I'm just a pessimist.
And literally people would ask me like, why are you a pessimist? And I'm like, because I'm always right. Like I'm not being pessimistic. I'm always right. It is gonna go that way. And I was just negatively
gonna go wrong.
Exactly. I'm like, and it would happen because I would negatively manifest it.
And
I would be like, look at that. And then you're confirmed in your belief. And then I started, and then even like talking nicely to myself, like in my head, I would have that negative like inner monologue, and that's just so comforting. But for me in my head to be like, nah, you look great today. You're gonna kill it. That made sense. It's so cringy in my head. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like,
why are you dancing? What the fuck?
Right?
But don't you see why? Don't you see the funny thing though? It's like even doing that is seen as like a corny thing.
because that habit of talking negative to yourself becomes comforting because that's all you know how to do.
Yeah.
So when you don't,
so the
you're
opposite is like you try to rationalize not doing it by calling it corny. Calling something corny is the best way to rationalize not doing it. It's like, yo, that's corny, bro. Like me, I'm not a romantic person, so every time I see some romantic shit, I'm like, nigga, that's fucking corny. That's just because I'm not it. And for me, it's like you have an ego. You gotta rationalize everything. You have to rationalize your personality, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? You just like, man, that's like that thing that I'm not. That shit lame. So you feel good about not being that thing,
dude. And the thing again, it goes back to faith, right? Like if you're ever anxious, like if I'm ever anxious on the bus, what I've been doing recently is I just close my eyes, and then I imagine that there's just a thick layer of light surrounding my body, and I just hold that thought, and it kind of just melts away. Because like, wow, like you have angels looking over you, and it's like no matter what really happens, even if it's good or bad, it's probably happening for a reason.
It's not even good or bad. That's what's funny.
Yeah,
because good things lead to bad things, and
good?
bad things lead to good things.
Exactly.
Because that example is from, okay, well, get rid of the light. That thing is
get rid of the light.
You got that light.
Darkness.
There's this example. I think it's from a Buddhism book, Buddhist book, where it's like this guy. He has horses. He has a horse. The horse runs away. And then the neighbors come around. They're like, "Oh, you lost your horse. That must be terrible." And the guy said, "Maybe." And then the next day, the horse came back with like 3 other horses. They're like, "Oh my God, like your horse came back and now you have more horses." And then the guy was like, "Isn't that awesome?" And the guy was like, "Maybe." The next day, his son is riding one of the horses and falls and breaks his leg. And then the neighbors come and they're like, "Oh my God, like your son broke his leg. Isn't that terrible?" He's like, "Maybe." Next day, the army comes and tries to recruit, looking for people to recruit. And usually, like, I don't think you get a say. Yeah. Probably around that time, you don't get a say in like being able to know I don't want to. But his leg was broken, so they didn't draft him. So we're like, "Oh my God, like it's so awesome. Your son didn't get drafted because if you get drafted, you're probably gonna die." And he was like, "Maybe." So it's like the horse leaving led to all of those things. Next? I don't know. Some good and bad things. So it's like we're very quick to try to like make sense of things as they happen, but we really don't understand. Like we actually don't understand anything. We don't know anything. And I think we are so scared of admitting that ignorance, and that can be what causes a lot of like those inner conflicts where like niggas are just like, what does this mean? Like this person looked at me this way. What does this mean? Is this good? Is this bad? Like we always need some sort of thing to comfort the ignorance we have when all we are is ignorant. We're never right. We're never right.
And like it became somewhere along the lines like not okay to say, you know what? I don't know.
Yeah, you gotta,
right? Like it's just like, and I
everything.
think that's totally cool too. But I like that story too because that's just like the Buddhist attachment to nothing is so important. Like that I can't lose what I'm not attached to. And if I'm not losing it, then I'm not left being less complete than I was beforehand, which is really interesting and like goes into their whole notion of like eventually like escaping life cycles and
what you find out is things really start to work out your way more often when you stop trying to have them work out your way.
Dude, remember
it's very strange.
October last year? So many like synchronicities.
Dog, that was some crazy shit, right?
There's like 2-3 months, 2019, where like just bare synchronicity. Like you'd think this guy saw someone with the same hat.
Dude, it was like it was, and that's not things that's not happening. It's just our level of how much we were like aware and present and every day that we started to notice like certain patterns and
it's
just
very
the way
subtle things.
Yeah, and.
Because nothing was a coincidence, really.
Yeah, but that's just because see what happens is everything is connected. Everything is connected because everything is the same thing. Yeah. You look at it from a scientific perspective. The Big Bang came out of one point of concentrated energy that just exploded. So in this way, we are that one point. Everything is that one point of concentrated energy, and all we are is just the explosion happening, right? From a scientific perspective. If you want to look at any other way, we came from God. So in this way, we are all the same thing. Like Christian perspectives tell you to look at everyone as brothers and sisters. So it's like we are all related. That's what all those religions are trying to say through different means. But all they're saying is everything is fucking related. So what happens when you become more conscious is you just notice the interconnectedness of everything. Mm-hmm. So you start to see like
you see God in literally everything.
You see God in everything. So you like I may see this carpet right now, like I see this pattern here and I notice it, and then I get outside and I see like a fucking plant arrangement that looks exactly like this. I'm like, whoa, what are the odds?
And the crazy thing is like if you have like a mystical experience like psychedelics or whatever, and you come out of it back into this reality, it feels so sluggish. Like, oh my God, like what? Like,
have you ever done? Do you want to incriminate yourself?
Talking to? Yeah, like I did shrooms. I did shrooms once. My first time doing shrooms, and I was so like, I think I capped it like 3 grams.
Okay,
it was like 9.
That's a lot for your first time.
That's a lot for first time.
Really?
First time I did 2. That shit was pretty intense.
I did 3 grams, and I was just like, why rules?
Yeah.
Who came up with, like the diminishing of ego? And I'm just like, I don't even matter. And that's totally cool.
And that's fucking tight. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because
it's fucking
you
tight.
become all things, but if there's only one thing, then that means there is no thing to be aware of.
Yes. Yeah.
So it means there's nothing.
There's nothing. Bro, everything is nothing. Well, everything came out of nothing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Like,
it's all just atoms.
Like, just so it's exactly. You look close enough, like you just zoom in enough on anything. It's just a bunch of little atoms just vibrating at a certain in a certain arrangement and a certain frequency. That's all it is.
And what's amazing too is
it's all nothing.
Like certain practices like Tai Chi and like acupuncture, they're becoming verified by like science that's coming up. I think it was Richard Feynman or somebody. He found out that in 1 cubic centimeter of space, there's enough energy to dry out all the oceans on Earth right now. Mm-hmm. So when you extrapolate that, it's like, people practice Tai Chi, and it's like to us, it kind of just looks like people moving really slow. But what they're doing is they're cultivating energy from the ether by using their breath or life force
and moving it
and movement and like transferring it within their bodies and like transferring it through them and like becoming healthy as fuck, like getting rid of disease. Like, and what's sad is that people kind of limit themselves.
People, that's what I'm saying.
And
the
be
bubble.
like, no, this disease is incurable.
Yes.
In my opinion, no disease is incurable. I think you might have to like do some shit to get there.
Because everything has its opposite.
Mm-hmm. Isn't this? Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
So in that sense, it's like, no, like just inquire and make that quest. And I think you'll find it. Maybe not this lifetime, but I think you'll eventually find whatever it is you're looking for.
And a lot of time, it's also like you kind of create it. So like, and a lot of time, like the antidote to whatever disease it is will be staring at you right in the fucking face, but you just keep beating around the bush so much. Like the whole, like a big aspect of cancer is that it's really based on how you live for a lot of people, where it's like the amount of stress, like stress is a big actual factor into cancer development.
Chronic stress is
because I haven't finished the book, so I don't want to summarize anything, but I'm actually reading the Joe Dispenza Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself book. And he's very scientific about it because he knows like Western, like this is shit that people have figured out like in the East, like for a very long time. But it's just that now we're kind of like circling back to it somehow, but we want science. We want the science. Like, how does this work? What is happening in my brain that's making me happy?
God needs to prove it, right? Which is science.
So like he breaks it down a lot, and he goes down to like how quantum like mechanics work and why it was invented in the first place. I don't remember much because I haven't summarized the book and I'm not done yet. But basically, a lot of it is that it's like everything is just a bunch of energy, and the stress you're putting yourself under can unlock certain genetic like predispositions that you have that can manifest things like cancer later on in your life. And which is why the remission thing happens when people find out they have a certain amount of time to live, and then they stop giving a fuck,
they just open.
And then they stop being stressed, and then the cancer goes away. It's literally like your state of being has such has bigger of an impact and an influence than you actually think it does. And I don't see people really like inquiring into that as much and like taking control of that, where we kind of depend on substance. There's a lot of substances that are good enough for that, where they're not really detrimental, but a lot of people, like, you don't want to get dependent on the substance and you want to figure out how to do that shit for yourself.
People use substances as a way to escape rather than a tool to help you unlock certain things. It's like, I'm going to take this, I'm going to do no inner work, and I'm just going to and like, let me talk, because I that's what I did like forever. And then I was like, and then I labeled the substance as bad because my interaction with it is negative, so therefore it's objectively bad and it can't be good for anyone.
So every time you do it, it's like you're gonna have a bad experience. You're gonna think it's a bad thing.
Come to find out that I can just change my interaction with it, and I'm like, wow, it's not objectively bad anymore.
You mean I'm the problem?
You won't get a Pisces will not admit that.
The stigma around it is so terrible too.
Yeah.
And the guy Albert Hoffman, who created LSD, I think I was just listening to a podcast with Paul Chek, and he was saying they were doing trials because it's so powerful, right? As a truth serum. So they gave it to 12 of their Green Berets, which is like one of the highest ranking soldiers, right?
Isn't there a video? There's a video.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen it. But essentially, they gave them the LSD. And then by the end of the trip, they're all like, because it's a truth serum, they're all like, yeah, I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to engage with this establishment and just like what it represents. So then they're like, oh shit, this is terrible. Like we can't have this, right? You know, we can't have, because that destroys nationalism.
There's a video.
Yes.
There's a video I watched where it's an experiment. It's very old, an experiment they did with soldiers. And I think it was with drills. They just had them do like drills before and after. So they gave them LSD. They waited for it to come up. And then in the video, all you see, the soldiers like holding guns instead, just laughing, just dying laughing.
Exactly.
It's almost as if they see like the absurdity of what they're doing, like the drills and shit, because that's usually what happens. You get taken out.
Unconditional laughter.
You get taken out the game. So like they're just standing there and they're just fucking dying of laughter. And it's like, they're supposed to be the toughest looking, like intimidating guys, because they're supposed to like represent like the state's power and shit. And you just see those guys looking like babies, just like hunched shoulders, just like, and I think that's probably why like they kind of controlled the substance a bit. It's just,
of course,
because it takes people out, and you want people to, like, you want people programmed, like you want them to be programmed to do whatever you like, especially soldiers. You want to program soldiers to be able to kill, and then be able to like take themselves and their country and their identity, what they identify with, serious enough that they could kill for it.
Soldiers are the most, like, if anyone had to be like the most like controlled or like to follow an order, it would be like a soldier, right? Like, so to take it and be like, because they're sitting there and they're like, okay, I'll do this, but why? That's all. I think that's all psychedelics do. It's like, but why? Yeah. But why? And then can't be asking why. Like because sometimes there's not an answer. There's not because I told you so. Sometimes is the answer, and that's going to be insufficient, and then you're not going to do it.
Exactly. You're a soldier, or else go kill.
and it's the incentive too. It's like, oh, you're financially you're set. If you retire, it's like you are set.
Hello, you got free school. Get on the field, bud. Like,
and it's crazy how like literally there's no rule. Like we are inherently free, right?
There are no rules.
Structures like the state, it's like, if you do this, we'll give you money. If you do this, we'll give you freedom. If you get the vaccine, you can go back to reality.
Gotta buy freedom.
You can go back living your normal life. And that is no different than...
Oh, yeah. They're out of pocket in the States, bro. I don't know what the fuck's going on with that campaign. The vaccine campaign that's going on where they have celebrities. They're bringing celebrities into it.
Dude, they got Deepak Chopra on that shit.
Yeah, it's very... Come on, bro. Like, that's what I'm saying, bro. You get the more
that's
more
insane,
power,
bro. Even Paul Chek vouches for Deepak Chopra. And now
the more power you get, the more niggas can use you for whatever, because they'll offer you more power. Okay? Fucking... Dude, that wellness sticker badge thing, does that mean that anyone who does it, like, what does it entail? I don't understand it. It makes no sense. That's the whole thing. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
What it seems, I don't even, like, I skipped through the video, but what to me it seems like they're going to use that as a proxy for denying people services somehow.
Yeah.
That's where this all goes. That's you're gonna have a little vaccination card. If you can't,
They're
if you're
asking
not,
for passports.
a vaccination passport. If you're not, okay, don't go into this concert. Don't go into this. I'm sure it'll escalate to malls and things of that sort.
It's
Like
so
you'll have to.
strange.
They will, and that. But that's the perfect plan.
Do you think they'll succeed, or is there going to be a massive civil war before?
I don't know, man. Because I see people asking questions, but
People are getting more and more skeptical, which is the only reason why. But also, I've like watched people get to that point. Like I've watched people be on like the cusp of like, oh my god, you're right there, just revolution, and then they're like, no. But also, I think people are terrified because the state at this point will like demonstrate you are not to organize any type of revolution. It's not gonna fly. You can
Can't
get locked
gather.
up. No, like they'll stop it before it's even start. So I don't even know. But
Yeah, I saw Russell Brand. It was a Russell Brand video. He was talking about there's some bill passed in the States or like policy passed in the States where you literally can't be out with 3 or more people, and otherwise they'll consider it a protest. You can get arrested. You can't even speak back to a police officer, or else they'll label it as like,
damn, nigga,
I don't know, like
that's a
I
dictatorship.
don't know what it was,
Right.
But like, literally, you can't do shit.
It's dictatorship, nigga.
And
no, literally, if you say something to a police, if you're like, yo, fuck you, like, sorry, excuse my language, but genuinely, like, you could just get arrested.
Oh, you can fucking swear here, nigga. Don't excuse your
That's
really?
language.
fine.
Oh, I've been on my good shit this whole time.
We not professional over
Damn.
here, nigga. The
Damn.
fuck?
And it's just sad because people are like so distracted, and they like
Well, that too, right?
God.
It's like we're fucking, like
we just want out. Oh, the
it's all
cases
entertainment.
are up. Like,
it's all entertainment at the end.
don't
of
even
the
fucking
day.
get me started. Like,
But you know what? I'm ending with this. Have y'all seen The Matrix? Like the whole thing?
the first one, not
The
the
first
whole
one?
series.
Okay, well, see, I watched the second one with Tim, and what happens. And I think The Matrix is very cool because it kind of talks about like this life shit in such a cool way. So you see how Neo's like working so hard to like overcome the
Right.
Matrix and like beat the enemy and blah 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 blah. And the second one, you find out this is his 5th time doing this. And like basically it's almost, so it's like reincarnated kind of thing where it's like a game where
His
the good
soul
guy
kinda chose
is beating the bad guy. Where it's like, yo, like this is you're doing where he basically meets the architect who is kind of stands for God in a way. Where it's like, yeah, bro, and you see like a bunch of screens in a room and it's all different versions, alternate realities of the single moment that's happening. And you're seeing the
Whoa.
different reactions in every dude.
I haven't seen it in a while. but-
Trippy. I might watch it today actually.
And the fact that he can just download any skill, like
Yeah.
kung fu, fucking.
So the second one kind of entertains this idea of you're not gonna end up anywhere except at the starting line again. Where as much as we want to move things forward and fix problems and do all that shit, it never really ends because the solutions will create new problems.
Yeah.
And then you'll just find something else to protest and have a revolution about. There's always going to be a problem. As long as you're alive, if you don't have something that you're supposed to be fighting against, you're like, there's no point. Like that's why like struggle and adversity is so important because like it makes you appreciate the opposite so much more.
There has to be polarity.
There has to be a polarity.
Remember
at
the
all time.
topic of free will versus
Determinism?
I believe in predetermined. I don't believe in it, but I'm just.
I believe in both.
I'm putting out concept, which is predetermined free will. So it's basically God gives you like flashes of in your life where you actually have free will and you're not just like subconsciously repeating behavior. But in order to get there, you have to go through so much shadow work, possibly, or like so much bullshit that you finally have this moment of awareness and you can finally choose.
Take control.
Cause I don't think like life is too grand and God is too grand to like exclude free will from the equation entirely.
Well, if you're looking at it from a perspective where we are God, then that changes the whole thing.
I guess.
Because I don't see God as a separate thing. Like I see like
sometimes I do. Most of the time I do.
I don't know. It's a very hard thing to wrap your head around, but I don't think it's something separate from us. Same way I don't think like like this hard drive is necessarily something separate for me because everything's connected, right?
I think we all have the capability to become a god in a sense. Where like if you go off like Buddhist belief, then you would just essentially, and it's the one that's like resonated the most with me, which is just like we're just reborn into life cycles, and each lifetime you perfect your karma until you've become officially enlightened.
Yeah.
And so that's when people talk about like a Buddha. Like there's no Buddha. Like you can become a Buddha at any time, and you're like it's innumerable lifetimes. It take 30 years, take 150. It doesn't, however long it takes you. But I don't. Yeah.
But see,
it's like a matrix. Yeah.
The thing is, some say like everyone already has that. Like everyone already is one. It's just the bullshit that they've thrown on top of their actual real self.
Yeah. Has
like clouded their perspective so much that they think that they're supposed to work towards becoming that. When you're already it, and you think you're not, and you think you need to do X, Y, and Z to become it, but the X, Y, Z that you think you have to do is exactly why you're not it. So you're kind of creating the separation.
An illusion.
Yeah. Because all nirvana enlightenment is just becoming nothing.
Yep.
Because nothing is everything. So and being everything, you are God. So when you become nothing, you actually do become God. And that's what an ego death is. It's like you just like that's why it's called so spirit, like it's seen as such a spiritual and like religious thing for a lot of people. Because like your concept of yourself as a separate being is completely eradicated. And as soon as that happens, you realize who you actually are, which is all those other things that are outside of yourself at the same time as that fucking body that you're in, that you're using. It's so strange how we just like we centralize it all in that little fucking brain, and then we forget that like all of this is in it too.
Yeah, and even like mind is like not localized.
It's not.
It's like you can access it, like it can
so strange.
Collective consciousness, all of that, like it is in the ether.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's cool.
We're at the end.
Just faith, I think. My takeaway for like the past few weeks has been. It's like,
yep. Just trust. Yeah. Just trust your peoples. Because at the end of the day, we're all we got, bro. So like, even if niggas is acting up, you kind of have to, as much as you can intervene a little bit, you also have to have the faith that at some point people will come to believing in what you believe.
Or just like something. There's a grander.
Well, you gotta have people that you try to convince. So like, you know, you can't have everyone believing what you believe in. You have to have some people to turn over to your side. So there's always gonna be some people to turn onto your side.
Doctors have to heal sick people, otherwise they can't buy their Mercedes.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for coming. No, it's
last thing. It's, let me see if I can remember it. The business model is so good that you don't get your reward until after you die.
Right. Where the reward in itself isn't like release. The reward to be released.
Isn't death a reward, nigga? Life is a lot.
Death is the reward?
Yeah. I
thought it's the escape of the cycles.
I mean,
like Nirvana would be the reward.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's if you become aware of it. Because by the time you're reincarnated, you forgot you were alive before. You kind of get a feeling though. You're like, damn. Like,
you have a past life. And that past life is always there.
You ever get that moment when you're just alive and you're just like, and then you're just like, shit, nigga, damn, this is kind of intense.
How long have I been here?
You know, maybe that's what that is. It's like, damn, like this is, because 30 years is not that much, but if you've been 30 for like thousands to millions of years, it becomes a whole different topic. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. It was awesome.
This was 70. This is over an hour. It's an hour and 20 minutes. It's not bad. It's pretty long.
That was dope.
Yeah, it's become average, huh? We be talking and shit. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I'll have your social medias. And which ones do you not want?
You can just do like my Instagram one.
What about your address?
Yeah, I'll send you my social security number so you can put that one on there too.
But if y'all need her social security number, it'll be in the description. Go cop that, you know what I'm saying?
Go enter that.
Thank you and shit. Buy merch. I'll probably have some merch up. Give me some money, nigga. I'm still a capitalist at the end of the day. Jeff Bezos.
Man's gotta eat.
Shout out Jeff Bezos. You feel me?
Not the eating noises. Yo, please. Shout out Jeff Bezos.